Everyone for joining. Once again, I'm Emilia. I'm the founder of RecruitHer, which is a recruitment consultancy that champions female professionals who want to transition into EdTech. And with me today, I have Serena. Serena and I previously worked together back in 2018. And I let Serena introduce herself, I guess.
Hi everyone, I'm Serena Dogan. I'm Senior Business Development Manager at Berlitz UK Schools. And as Emilia mentioned, we met many years ago when I was a teacher, and she saw my career transition into sales. And because she's founded her own business now, I would love to support her in her new webinar series. And I'm the first person, so I'm very
Yeah.
happy.
So yes, thank you so much, Serena, for introducing yourself. So yes, we are starting, or I'm starting a series of 10 webinars with 10 amazing women who are doing amazing work in the education/edtech space, and Serena is one of them. I have followed her career journey on LinkedIn. She has transitioned from being a teacher to being an amazing business development manager. But I would like her to tell us a little bit more about her role, her current role, and her current company.
So I do business development. So I basically do sales, and my markets are Turkey, Europe, and Asia at the moment. I want to talk a bit about Berlitz before I talk about my role, actually. So Berlitz is a language provider. We were established in 1878, so we're turning 150 years old soon. We've got a very good history of providing language solutions to the world, and we're one of the top corporate training providers in the world. So we work with many companies. We also do international students, but our main expertise is corporate training. And talking about EdTech, we've recently launched 2 AI tools on our online platform. So we've had Berlitz Live Online for some time. We teach online English, Spanish, French, German, and many other languages. And on this platform in August, we launched 2 AI tools. One of them is My Berlitz Tutor, which is a 24-hour accessible AI tutor where you can have daily conversations and you can get instant feedback, instant error correction on the platform. And the second one is the Cultural Navigator, which is also powered by AI. And it's for individuals who are moving to a new country, who are familiarizing themselves with new cultures. So the Cultural Navigator, you can learn about the business etiquettes of the country, how they dress, professional attire, greetings, authentic conversations, authentic daily conversations. So yeah, Berlitz Live Online is going very well, but I'm responsible for the in-person intake as well. So we have 2 campuses in London and Manchester, alongside the online platform.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I work with a number of different companies, and sometimes companies that have been on the market for a number of years, they have a reputation and they don't really invest in the product, the services. And it's great to hear that Berlitz is actually investing in this, in AI, which is, everyone is talking about AI, I guess. But it's good to see that, the company is doing something with the new technology that is emerging. But obviously you have transitioned from being a teacher to doing business development. How was that journey for you? So how did you manage, like how did you transition and why, I guess?
Yeah, it is like everyone asks me, how did you transition from teaching to sales? Because one is you're dealing with numbers and targets all the time, and one is completely different. But a lot of skills that I gained in teaching, I'm applying in my current role. And I had no idea I would use my skills in teaching 8 years ago that I would apply today. So how it all happened was I started teaching at university as a part-time weekend teacher. And then I instantly fell in love with the interaction with students, with basically teaching in general. And I taught for 5 years, and then the pandemic happened, unfortunately. However, for my career, it was fortunate because I transitioned into a new field. I
Yes.
had to, because language schools closed down for some time. There were no students coming into the UK. So I had to look for a new opportunity. And luckily, I found a role where I was kind of a business developer with universities, but sales wasn't involved at that time. But 2.5 years, I was at the Embassy of Kuwait, where I learnt to be the main contact for all the universities in the UK. And even that role really, really helped me with my sales role. So it was all skills that I gained that helped me with my next transition.
Amazing. I don't know. Sorry, there are some background noises. I hope you cannot
We
hear
can't
them.
hear
Yeah,
it.
thank you so much for telling us about your transition. But obviously, you mentioned that you didn't necessarily have the sales skills. So how did you end up, doing sales? Because business development is actually sales, isn't it?
So true. So at the embassy, I was the main point of contact for
Hmm.
universities. But as I said, sales wasn't involved.
Hmm.
And then I love the quotes, your network is your net worth. So because I'm very active on social media, especially LinkedIn, I guess people knew that I was at the embassy. I was always posting. I was very proactive on social media. And I got approached by a managing director at the
Hmm.
time. And he said to me, can we have a call? I have a role. Is this a sales related role? And honestly, before the call, I knew I was going to say, no, I can't do sales. I have no experience, no interest in sales. Actually, I was frightened. I was petrified of numbers and targets. I had never dealt with it before. But after the call, he said to me, we're a new school, we're growing, and you can grow with us. I really like the way you present yourself on social media. You're very active. So he gave me the confidence, and that's how it all started 3 years ago. And honestly, I think I have found my passion in sales.
Wow, amazing. So do you think that being a teacher, like, are there any transferable skills that you can use, from when you were a teacher now doing business development?
Almost all the skills that I use, except the data, of course, numbers and data thing,
Hmm.
are from my teaching days. So the first skill I would say is understanding your audience, and especially a diverse audience. So when I was teaching, I was in a room full of students from different backgrounds, different cultures,
Hmm.
different nationalities. So you basically have to adapt yourself to their, because you have to be very culturally sensitive. If you're working with Chinese students, if you're working with Turkish students, they all have different, you have to approach them differently. And
Hmm.
today in sales with my clients, because I work with different markets, so if I'm working with a Middle Eastern agent from Saudi Arabia, I can't approach them the same way as I do to a Chinese agent. They're all very different. So I would say the first point, the first transferable skill from teaching to sales would be empathy. You have to be empathetic. You have to put yourself in the shoes of the client and understand their culture and their way of thinking, basically.
Hmm. So I would say that you mentioned understanding your audience, being empathetic,
Mhm.
um, patience and resilience, probably, because
Yeah.
when you're dealing with students, you have to be patient, and probably here is the same. But my question is, like, obviously the sales skills and numbers and targets hasn't been main thing in teaching. Like, how are you adapting? Are you upskilling? Are you learning more about the kind of that aspect of the role?
Yeah, as I said, as you mentioned, actually, I was going to come to that point. Patience in both sectors, the teaching and the sales sector, you have to be very patient because, of course, a language learner doesn't learn like that. You have to wait
Hmm.
maybe a year or so for them to come to their desired level. And in sales too, it just doesn't happen overnight. You need to you need to call them probably 5 or 6 times before they actually take you seriously. You have to email them more than 5 or 6 times for them to actually show some interest. But
Hmm.
luckily, because of the social media reputation that I built, agents and my previous job as well, I think I have built trust among in the sector. So building that trust is important. They must know who you are. They must know the schools that you worked for. But yeah, it's basically patience and resilience.
Hmm.
Um,
It's interesting because
sure.
you're talking about the patient and resilience, but within this, you are actually saying, 5 or 6 times the touch points. So you do understand the metrics as well that are necessary, to become a great business development manager, right? So you
Yeah,
mentioned that the skills that you use to be successful at your work is not only the social media, but the other touch points, right?
for sure. The follow-ups are the most important things.
I wanted to ask,
Um,
like, what are the skills, the skills that a business development should have should develop to be a successful in their role?
First of all, don't fear rejection. As
Mm-hmm.
I said, I have an Excel, maybe I have 1,000 agents on there, and I have each follow-up and their responses each time and their reactions. So maybe the first follow-up, they said to me, sorry, but right now we don't want to work with any other schools. We're very happy with our current portfolio. Thank you for your interest. But then you would see them at an event. You would approach them.
Mm-hmm.
And then on social media, you would start posting about the school, the USBs. And then you would approach them again, maybe on WhatsApp, email, phone. I mean, WhatsApp is actually very common among agents. Um, of course, I prefer call in the first time, but WhatsApp is also very effective. It took me 2 years previous job. I just didn't stop. I didn't give up for 2 years. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, I had a client that sent me like a big group after chasing them for 2 years. And they said, you know what, Serena, we're going to try you out. We're going to try the school out. And after that, I thought to myself, perseverance is going to be my biggest motivation. I just, after the 2 years, I really couldn't believe that they actually sent me a massive group of students and they were very happy at the end. And after that, because I built that strong foundation in their first trial with us, it
Mm-hmm.
just carried on.
So obviously 2 years is a long time.
No, honestly, it took me 2 years to get
And
an agent.
so sometimes people are impatient, i.e. myself, right? I want to do,
Yeah.
want things to happen now. So how do you maintain that relationship? How are you resilient for so long? So kind of what motivates you, I guess? Or like,
What motivates me is, of course, we hear hundreds of no's, but then we hear hundreds of yeses at the same time. Not
mhm,
all agents reject you. And you don't have to take the no personally
mhm,
because they're basically rejecting the offer. They're not rejecting you. So
mhm,
if you go to them with another offer, if you approach them differently in the future, it's going to be a yes. I'm very positive about that. But as I said, yes, there are no's, but there are also agents who work with you at the same time. So you
mhm,
shouldn't be demotivated by the no's. There's also many yeses.
mhm.
You
Yeah.
can't really work with all the agents anyway. Like you have to work with a part of them. There's so
So,
many out there.
yeah, that's actually a little bit of my follow-up. So obviously you talk to many people, individuals, companies. You had them on social media, you have them on WhatsApp, emails, calls, different names, different cities, different, students. How do you keep a track of that with everything?
Well, you have to be very organized in sales, especially if you're taking care of many markets.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a very organized Excel with the details, the follow-up details. Who should you approach? You don't want to be approaching the CEO each time you have a new price list, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as a salesperson, you need to be very organized. And it's also good to maintain a good relationship with the academic advisors of the agency. Because
Mm-hmm.
once they like working with you, honestly, if the school is the most expensive school, they like working with you. So the contact person is very important. Once you give that trust to them, honestly, the rest comes. You just have
Sorry,
to
so
like, yeah.
so does it mean that when you're working with one company, it's not only one person that you deal with? It's
No,
many
they have
different
like
companies, many different people.
5 branches, let's say.
Mhm.
So
Right.
so persuasion and influence as a salesperson, that's a
Mhm.
skill that you must develop, of course.
Mhm.
One they say no, you can't just say, okay, bye. No, you have to find a way to get in there again. One agency has 5 or 6 offices, maybe.
Mhm.
So one office might say no, the other branch might want to work with you. So it's
Mhm.
basically never giving up. Resilience for sure. Resilience is very important. Clarity and simplicity is very important. In every sales aspect, in every product, you just have to offer very simple solutions to the actual problem. It's
Mhm.
actually very basic. Nobody likes complexity. They just basically want a quick solution to their needs.
Mhm. Thank you for that. I know that you started at Berlitz not so long ago, and I've been in business development manager before as well, and I know how important market research is in a way. So how did you do that when you started at Berlitz? What sort of tips you have for us?
So, of course, from my previous job, I already have experience of the markets that I worked with. Because I was looking after UK and Ireland in my previous job, I
Mm-hmm.
worked with all the agents that are based in the UK. So this is including China, Japan, Turkey, Middle East. So I already had a previous insight about the markets, which was
Mm-hmm.
very good. I had a good foundation there. It's not like I never worked with a Saudi Arabian agent. In my previous job, I had that experience. So I know the market. Then I was thinking to myself, this product, it must be a good product for me to introduce it. And honestly, because Berlitz is it's a product that doesn't really need, it's a big brand. I mean, as I said, they've been around for 150 years. I found so many USPs of the product, and the USPs are very strong. So I didn't really struggle with agents taking me seriously because they know me. And when I gave them the presentation of Berlitz and the USPs, honestly, most of them reacted in a way that they had no idea how big and global the brand was. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a win-win situation for me because they know me, but the brand is also very big. So for me, it's like I just need to promote it properly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you basically you understood more, you learn more about Berlitz and what it does in order to have an awareness of the product and then kind of say to the customers, look, this is Berlitz. We've been on the market for centuries almost, right?
Exactly. And Berlitz have their own Berlitz method. So this is like the strongest USB that we have. We have our own method of teaching. So
Oh, I
in
didn't know that.
itself, this USB, none of the agents have heard of it before. So when I tell them this method, when I tell them our famous alumni, I mean, honestly, it's like a win-win situation, and it leaves they remember Berlitz. They don't forget about it after my presentation.
Amazing. Lasting impression, I guess. Lasting impression. So in terms of, I wanted, we'll be wrapping up, but I wanted to ask you, obviously you started at Berlitz now. Like what are your career aspirations? What do you want to do in the future? Like, do you have an idea of where you like to go and do?
For sure, I want to remain in Berlitz because it's a global brand, it's well established, and that's very important. We have a school in 70 plus countries and 500 campuses around the world. So we're very well established, which is very good for me. I don't have to, the product is already there, the brand is already there. It's just me that has to be proactive. So my main market is Turkey, but I'm also focusing on Europe and Asia. So I
Mm-hmm.
would love to gain more experience in those markets, like especially Asia,
Mm-hmm.
because lots of things change, especially after COVID. Trends change, especially with Chinese students. So it's always, I'm very lucky to be able to look after these regions. I just want to develop myself in these regions.
Okay.
And
So
especially
you want to be like a go-to person for Turkey if anyone wants to go and study any language, basically.
yes, because competition is very fierce,
Yeah, yeah,
especially in Turkey. Like,
yeah.
and in the UK, there are hundreds of language schools. There are so many language schools out there, and the agent is going to say to you, "Why you?" I mean, there's so
Mm-hmm.
many, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have to. That's what makes a difference. You have to persuade and influence them at that point.
Yeah.
And I just don't let them speak when they say to me, "Why you?" I just don't stop, and they're like, "Okay."
Okay, okay. I love that. You know what? I've learned a lot today, and that I can apply to my role currently. So thank you so much. And one last question, because obviously I talk to a lot of teachers or people who are aspiring to leave teaching and work in ed tech or more corporate role. What advice would you give them if they are thinking of transitioning, and moving away from teaching? Is there like one piece of
Perfect.
advice that you could give, or based on your experience?
So if they're looking for a dynamic and if they're a people's person,
Hmm.
as I
Most
said,
teachers are, I guess.
yeah, but you have to travel, you have to go to fairs, you have to meet new people all the time. And a
Mhm.
successful salesperson never stops prospecting. You're always out there looking for new clients every single day. It's
Mhm.
like even if you have 2,000 agents, you need 2001 agents. So basically, you never stop. And I love how active it is. You meet new
Mhm.
people all the time, and you learn a lot by meeting new people because they have different needs. So I would say if you're a people's person, if you're looking for something dynamic, if you love traveling, this is the perfect job. Forget about the numbers, forget about the sales. It's
Mhm.
all about building meaningful relationships, building trust and loyalty, and the rest comes, the numbers comes. I never even focus on numbers.
Yeah. I mean, building meaningful relationship, trust, these are all the things that you need to use when teaching, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. In every year.
Great. Thank you so much.
That's
Do
great.
we have any questions? No questions?
Thank you. She explained really well. Thank you.
Oh, Emilia, thank you so much, dear.
Thank you so much. Serena, thank you so much for joining and being the first person to start the series. I'm really, really thrilled that it is you. As I said, I follow your career journey. It's super impressive, and I wish you all the very best in the future. And we stay connected, I guess.
The pleasure is mine. I'm very glad. I hope it brings luck.
Thank you. Yes, for both
And
of
I
us,
can't
hopefully.
wait to
Yes.
see where RecruitHer goes.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone,
you
for
so
joining.
much.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. It was very inspiring. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day.